Teachers, let's take a deep breath and reflect for a moment. Why did we choose this profession? Most of us stepped into teaching not just to deliver lessons, but to touch lives, to ignite curiosity, and to inspire young minds to discover the joy of learning. Yet, in today's fast-moving, digital-driven world, it's not always easy to keep students genuinely interested. Many come to class disengaged, distracted, or simply learning for the sake of grades. As trainers and educators, our mission is not just to teach the curriculum, but to make students fall in love with learning itself, to help them see education as something meaningful, exciting, and deeply personal. So how do we do that? How do we transform our classrooms into spaces of curiosity, enthusiasm, and lifelong learning? Let's explore this together, teacher to teacher, heart to heart. The first thing to remember is that students don't automatically love learning. They learn to love it when they feel it matters to them. It starts with relevance. If what we teach connects to their lives, dreams, or emotions, their engagement instantly grows. So, as a teacher, always ask yourself, why does this lesson matter to my students? How does it relate to their world? When students see the real-world application of what they're learning, they become more curious and motivated. For example, if you're teaching science, don't just explain formulas. Show them how those ideas exist in their daily lives, in the technology they use, the food they eat, or the environment around them. If you teach literature, connect stories to human emotions and social issues they can relate to. The more we link learning to life, the deeper the student's interest grows. Next, inspiration comes from enthusiasm. Your energy as a teacher is contagious. If you walk into class with genuine excitement about the topic, your students can feel it. Passion is powerful. It breaks through boredom and indifference. Think of the best teachers you've ever known. What made them special? It wasn't just their knowledge, it was their energy, their voice, their ability to make even complex topics feel alive. When we teach with passion, we tell students, this matters, and when we say that with conviction, they start to believe it too. So bring your subject to life. Use storytelling, demonstrations, humor, and real examples. Let your own love for learning shine through your teaching. But passion alone isn't enough. To inspire students, we need to connect with them as individuals. Every student in your classroom has a story, their own background, struggles, and dreams. If they feel seen and understood, they open up to learning. Building rapport is not just a classroom strategy, it's a foundation of inspiration. Take time to know your students, their interests, their strengths, their fears. A few words of encouragement, a moment of genuine listening, can change the way they see themselves as learners. When a student feels that you believe in them, they start believing in themselves. That's when real growth happens. Another powerful way to inspire love for learning is by creating a classroom culture that celebrates curiosity rather than perfection. Too often students fear making mistakes because they've been taught that errors mean failure. But as educators, we must remind them that mistakes are simply part of the learning process. When we normalize questions, exploration, and even confusion, students begin to see learning as an adventure, not a test. Encourage them to ask why and how, to experiment, to debate, to explore new ideas without fear. Tell them, it's okay not to know everything. That's why we learn. A curious classroom is a thriving classroom. Now, let's talk about autonomy. Students are more likely to love learning when they feel ownership over it. If we give them choices, in topics, projects, or the way they demonstrate their understanding, we empower them. Autonomy fosters engagement. When students get to decide how they learn or express themselves, learning becomes personal and meaningful. Try to give them voice and choice wherever possible. For example, let them pick a topic for a presentation, create a project that connects to their passions, or set their own learning goals. The moment they feel trusted to take charge of their learning, motivation naturally follows. Equally important is making learning active and hands-on. Passive learning, where students only listen and take notes, rarely builds lasting interest. Instead, turn lessons into experiences. Use group discussions, role plays, simulations, experiments, or field activities. Bring learning to life. Let students explore, create, and collaborate. When learning becomes an experience rather than a routine, It sparks excitement and curiosity. Students remember lessons they've lived, not just heard. As teachers, we must also recognize the power of encouragement. Inspiration doesn't come from constant correction, but from consistent support. Every student, even the quiet or struggling one, needs to hear that they are capable. Praise effort, not just achievement. When students see that their hard work matters more than perfection, they are more likely to stay motivated. A simple statement like, "I see how hard you retrying, keep going," can ignite confidence that pushes them forward. Remember, students often mirror our expectations. If we expect greatness, they will rise to it. Now let's address one key challenge: technology and distraction. Today's students live in a world filled with screens, entertainment, and instant gratification. Competing with that can feel overwhelming. But instead of resisting technology, let's embrace it as a tool for inspiration. Use digital tools, educational games, virtual tours, and multimedia content to make your lessons more interactive and relatable. Online resources can open doors to creativity and global learning. Show students how to use technology not just for consumption, but for creation, to research, design, and share ideas. When used wisely, technology can enhance engagement and curiosity rather than hinder it. Let's also talk about modeling lifelong learning. One of the most powerful ways to inspire students to love learning is to show them that you, too, are a learner. When teachers demonstrate curiosity, humility, and a willingness to grow, students realize that learning never stops. Share your own learning journey with them. Talk about the books you're reading, the new teaching methods you're exploring, or the mistakes you've learned from. When students see their teacher as a learner, they understand that learning is not limited to the classroom. It's a way of life. Emotional connection plays a huge role too. Students learn best in environments where they feel safe, respected, and valued. As teachers, we set the tone. A warm, supportive atmosphere encourages students to take risks and express themselves. Be patient, empathetic, and approachable. When students feel emotionally secure, they are more open to learning. As the saying goes, students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Your compassion can turn resistance into motivation. Another aspect of inspiring students is helping them find purpose in learning. Sometimes students lose motivation because they can't see how education connects to their goals or identity. Help them see that learning is not just about passing exams, but about building skills, shaping character, and preparing for life. Show them how what they learn today can help them become better thinkers, communicators, creators, and citizens. When students understand the why behind learning, the how becomes much easier. Inspiration also grows when we bring diversity and creativity into our lessons. Use stories, visuals, real-life examples, and interdisciplinary projects to keep learning fresh. Incorporate art, music, culture, or current events where relevant. Variety keeps curiosity alive. Avoid routine monotony. Mix up your teaching styles. Sometimes a change in the classroom layout, a short activity, or an unexpected question can reignite interest. Let's not forget collaboration. Students love to learn when they feel part of a team. Create opportunities for peer learning, group projects, pair discussions, and cooperative games. Learning becomes more engaging when it's social. Students can inspire each other when they share ideas, solve problems together, and celebrate each other's progress. Collaboration builds confidence and communication skills, while also strengthening classroom community. As educators, we must also model resilience and positivity. There will always be challenges, low motivation, limited resources, or unexpected obstacles. But how we respond teaches our students more than any textbook ever could. Show them that setbacks are temporary and effort pays off. When they see you handle difficulties with grace and optimism, they learn to do the same. Inspiration comes not only from what we teach, but from who we are as teachers. Reflection is another key part of inspiring students. Encourage them to think about what they've learned and how it matters to them. Reflection deepens understanding and helps students see their own growth. Ask reflective questions like, "What was the most interesting thing you learned today?" Or "How can you use this knowledge in your life?" This kind of self-awareness makes learning more meaningful and personal. And of course, humor helps too. A light-hearted atmosphere keeps energy high. Students enjoy teachers who can make them smile while they learn. It doesn't mean you lose control of the class. It means you make learning enjoyable. Laughter breaks tension and builds connection. A fun classroom is a learning classroom. Now, as trainers guiding other teachers, we must emphasize that inspiring students to love learning isn't about a single method. It is a mindset. It's about seeing teaching not as a task, but as a mission. When you walk into your classroom each day with purpose, energy, and empathy, you automatically create a space where learning feels alive. You may not always see the results immediately, but every act of kindness, every spark of enthusiasm, every thoughtful word you share plants a seed, and those seeds grow in ways you may never fully realize. Teaching is not just about information, it's about transformation. The best teachers don't just teach lessons, they awaken minds. They show students that learning is not a burden but a privilege, not an obligation but a journey. When you inspire your students to love learning, you give them a lifelong gift, the confidence to think, to question, to grow, and to never stop seeking knowledge. So to every teacher listening, inspire by being inspired. Teach with heart, celebrate curiosity, make learning human, joyful, and relevant. Remember that the impact of your teaching goes far beyond the classroom. You're not just shaping learners, you're shaping thinkers, dreamers, and doers. And when students fall in love with learning, the world becomes a brighter, wiser, and more compassionate place.